First contact. The day the world changed started like any other. Dr. Samantha Chen sipped her coffee, bleary-eyed, as she stared at the monitors in NASA's Deep Space Network facility. The radio telescope array had been scanning the cosmos for decades, searching for signs of extraterrestrial intelligence. It was a lonely vigil, one that had yielded nothing but static and disappointment for generations. Until now. At first, Samantha thought she was hallucinating from lack of sleep. But as she blinked and rubbed her eyes, the signal persisted. A clear, repetitive pattern, unmistakably artificial, emanating from a point near Alpha Centauri. "Holy shit," she whispered, her hand shaking as she reached for the red phone that would set in motion a chain of events humanity had only dreamed of or dreaded. Within hours, the news had spread across the globe. Governments scrambled to respond, religious leaders sought to calm their flocks, and ordinary people looked to the stars with a mixture of hope and fear. The signal, once decoded, contained a simple message: "We come in peace." For weeks, the world held its breath. Military forces were placed on high alert, while diplomats and linguists worked around the clock to prepare for humanity's first extraterrestrial encounter. And then, on a crisp autumn morning, it happened. A sleek, silver craft, unlike anything ever seen on Earth, slipped into orbit. Its arrival was broadcast live to billions of viewers, who watched in awe as the alien ship dwarfed the International Space Station. Colonel Jack Harper, a decorated Air Force pilot, had been chosen to lead the first contact team. As he suited up in the airlock of the hastily prepared spacecraft, he couldn't help but feel the weight of history on his shoulders. "Remember," came the voice of Mission Control, "we're representing all of humanity up there." No pressure. Jack managed a tense chuckle. Right. Just another day at the office. The journey to rendezvous with the alien craft was mercifully short. As they approached, Jack marveled at its otherworldly beauty. The hull seemed to shimmer and shift, as if it were made of liquid metal. A hatch opened, and for the first time, humans laid eyes on an alien being. They were tall, slender creatures with iridescent skin and large, almond-shaped eyes. Their movements were graceful, almost hypnotic. "Greetings," the alien said, its voice resonating in Jack's mind rather than his ears. "We are the Zarkani. We have traveled far to meet you." The next few days were a whirlwind of diplomatic exchanges and scientific revelations. The Zarkani shared glimpses of advanced technology that promised to revolutionize human society. They spoke of a galactic community, of which Earth could now be a part. But as the initial euphoria began to fade, unsettling reports started to trickle in. People were disappearing. Not in large numbers, but enough to raise concern. At first, authorities dismissed it as hysteria or opportunistic crime taking advantage of the chaos. But then patterns emerged. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a brilliant xenobiologist, was one of the first to notice. The disappearances, she explained to a skeptical UN panel, they're not random. They're targeting our best and brightest. Scientists, engineers, artists, people pushing the boundaries of human achievement. Her words fell on deaf ears. The world was too enraptured by the promise of alien wonders to heed warnings of potential danger. It was Jack Harper who first stumbled upon the truth. During a tour of the Zarkani ship, he noticed something odd, a flicker of movement in a restricted area. Trusting his instincts, he slipped away from the group and followed his hunch. What he found chilled him to the bone. Hidden behind sophisticated camouflage fields were holding cells, and in those cells were humans, the missing people, their minds seemingly trapped in some sort of stasis. Jack's heart raced as he realized the magnitude of the deception. But before he could act, a cold voice echoed in his mind. "Curious creatures, aren't you?" The Zarkani leaders stood behind him, all pretense of benevolence gone. "Always poking your noses where they don't belong. It's what makes you so valuable to us." Jack reached for his sidearm, but found his body paralyzed by some unseen force. The alien approached, its eyes now glowing with an eerie light. You see, Colonel Harper, your species has something unique, an incredible drive, a relentless spirit that allows you to achieve the impossible. We've been harvesting that potential for millennia across countless worlds, and now it's Earth's turn to contribute to the greater good of our empire. As the alien reached out to touch his forehead, Jack mustered every ounce of willpower to resist. In that moment of defiance, something unexpected happened. A surge of energy coursed through him, shattering the alien's mental hold. Jack stumbled backward, gasping. The Zarkani leader looked shocked, then intrigued. Fascinating, it mused. Perhaps you humans are even more special than we thought. Alarms blared throughout the ship. Jack knew he had only moments to act. With a desperate lunge, he grabbed a piece of alien technology from a nearby console and jumped into an escape pod. As he plummeted back to Earth, Jack's mind raced. The world had to be warned. Humanity needed to prepare for a fight unlike any it had faced before. But he also couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just an invasion. Something had awakened within him during that confrontation, a power that the aliens both coveted and feared. The pod crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, and as rescue teams raced to retrieve him, Jack Harper steeled himself for the battle to come. Humanity had been deceived, but it was far from defeated. The real war was just beginning, and Earth would need every ounce of that indomitable human spirit to survive. The deception unveiled. The world changed overnight. Colonel Jack Harper's revelation sent shockwaves through every level of society. Initial disbelief quickly gave way to anger and fear as the truth became undeniable. The Zarkani, once hailed as saviors, were now humanity's greatest threat. Dr. Elena Rodriguez found herself at the center of a global crisis. Her warnings, once dismissed, were now the foundation of Earth's defense strategy. In a secured bunker beneath the Pentagon, she addressed a room full of grim-faced world leaders. The Zarkani technology is unlike anything we've ever seen, Elena explained, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. But it's not invincible. During Colonel Harper's escape, he managed to bring back a piece of their tech. We've been studying it round the clock, and we've made a breakthrough. On the screen behind her, complex diagrams appeared. Their systems rely on a form of quantum entanglement we barely understand. But here's the key. It's vulnerable to specific electromagnetic frequencies. We can disrupt their tech, maybe even turn it against them. A murmur of hope rippled through the room, but it was quickly tempered by the enormity of the task ahead. General Sarah Okonkwo, newly appointed head of Earth's Unified Defense Force, stood up. "Doctor, your discovery is invaluable," she said, her voice carrying the authority of a lifelong soldier. "But we're facing an enemy with vastly superior firepower and numbers. How do we stand a chance?" The room fell silent, the question hanging heavy in the air. Then, a voice spoke up from the back. "We do what humans have always done," said Jack Harper, still bearing the scars of his escape. "We adapt, we innovate, and we fight like hell." Over the next weeks, the world transformed. Old rivalries were set aside as nations pooled their resources. Factories that once produced consumer goods now churned out weapons and defenses based on Elena's research. Every scientist, engineer, and tactician worked tirelessly to prepare for the coming storm. But the Zarkani weren't idle. Reports flooded in of abductions on a massive scale. Entire towns vanished overnight. The aliens, their true nature now revealed, no longer bothered with subtlety. Jack found himself working closely with Elena, trying to unlock the potential he had glimpsed during his confrontation on the alien ship. "There's something inside us," he insisted during one late-night session. "Something the Zarkani want, or fear. We need to figure out what it is." Elena nodded, her eyes alight with scientific curiosity despite the dire circumstances. "Your brainwave patterns have changed since the incident," she mused. "It's like your mind has been rewired. If we could replicate that." Their breakthrough came not a moment too soon. On a cold, clear night, the sky lit up with the fire of descending ships. The Zarkani invasion had begun in earnest. The Battle of London would be remembered as humanity's darkest hour and its finest. As alien craft rained destruction on the ancient city, the hastily assembled Earth Defense Force met them head-on. General Okonkwo's voice crackled over the comms. "All units, deploy countermeasures. Hit them with everything we've got." Electromagnetic pulses, based on Alina's research, surged outward. Some Zarkeni ships faltered, their systems momentarily disrupted. But it wasn't enough. For every small victory, the aliens responded with overwhelming force. In the chaos of battle, Jack Harper led a squad into the heart of the alien formation. Armed with prototype weapons, they fought with desperate courage. But as they pushed forward, Jack felt something stirring within him. The same power he had experienced on the Zarkeni ship. As a massive alien walker bore down on their position, Jack acted on instinct. He reached out with his mind, and to his amazement, the walker froze. For a brief moment, he could feel the alien consciousness controlling it, could sense its surprise and fear. "Alina," he shouted into his comm, "it's not just tech. There's a mental component. They're all connected somehow." Across the battlefield, Alina's eyes widened with realization. "Of course. Jack, we need to broadcast your brainwave pattern. If we can disrupt their network." What followed would be debated by historians for generations. As Alina's team frantically worked to amplify Jack's unique neural signature, the tide of battle began to turn. Zarkeni ships collided with each other, their pilots suddenly unable to coordinate. Alien ground forces fell into disarray. In the command center, General Okonkwo watched in awe as the impossible unfolded. "Press the advantage," she ordered. "Drive them back." By dawn, the skies over London were clear. The Zarkeni, their invasion in tatters, retreated to the edges of the solar system. Humanity had won its first major victory, but it had come at a terrible cost. Much of London lay in ruins, and similar scenes of destruction played out across the globe. Millions were dead or missing, taken by the aliens for purposes still unknown. As the dust settled, Jack stood atop the remains of Big Ben, surveying the devastated city. Alina joined him, her face a mixture of exhaustion and determination. "We've bought ourselves some time," she said quietly, "but this is far from over." Jack nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "No, it's not. But now we know we can hurt them. We know we can fight back." He turned to her, his eyes blazing with newfound purpose. "And we know there's something inside us, inside all humans, that they never expected." Alina managed a grim smile. "So what's our next move?" Jack's response was simple, but it carried the weight of humanity's future. "We take the fight to them. We find out why they really came here, what they're doing with our people." And then he paused, his voice filled with grim determination. "We show them exactly what humanity is capable of." As they made their way back to the makeshift command center, both Jack and Alina knew that the real war was just beginning. But for the first time since the Zarkeni arrived, there was a glimmer of hope. Humanity had been bloodied, but it was unbowed. And in the crucible of this cosmic conflict, it was about to discover strengths it never knew it possessed. The counterattack. In the months following the Battle of London, Earth underwent a transformation unlike any in its history. The threat of alien domination hung over humanity like a dark cloud, but it also served as a catalyst for unprecedented cooperation and innovation. Dr. Alina Rodriguez stood in the heart of the newly constructed Global Defense Center, surrounded by a dizzying array of holographic displays and bustling scientists. What was once a pipe dream of science fiction had become a reality. Humanity was reverse engineering alien technology at a breakneck pace. "The quantum entanglement drive is almost operational," Alina reported to the assembled world leaders. "Once it's complete, we'll have the ability to travel to the edge of our solar system in a matter of hours." General Sarah Okonkwo nodded approvingly. "And our weapons systems?" A tall, lanky man stepped forward, Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, head of the weapons development team. We've successfully integrated Zarkani energy manipulation tech into our existing platforms. Our latest prototypes can punch through their shields like they're tissue paper. The room buzzed with cautious optimism. But Jack Harper, now heading Earth's first interstellar strike force, remained pensive. "It's not just about firepower," he interjected. "We need to understand their motives, find out what they're doing with our people." Elena caught his eye, understanding the weight of his words. The missing, millions of them, were a constant, gnawing concern. "We're working on that too," she assured him. "The neural interface technology we've developed based on your unique abilities is showing promise. We might be able to tap into their network, gather intelligence." As the meeting adjourned, Jack pulled Elena aside. "There's something else," he said in a low voice. "Something I haven't told the others yet. I've been having dreams, visions maybe. I think I'm seeing through the eyes of the abducted." Elena's eyes widened. "Jack, why didn't you say anything sooner? We need to run tests, analyze." "Because I'm not sure if I'm going crazy or if it's real." Jack cut her off. "But if it is, Elena, they're alive. All of them. And they're being used for something big." Before Elena could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. General Okonkwo's voice crackled over the intercom. "All personnel to battle stations. We have multiple Zarkani ships entering the solar system." The counterattack had begun. Within hours, Earth's newly minted space fleet engaged the Zarkani Armada near Jupiter's orbit. The battle that ensued was like nothing humanity had ever experienced. Advanced human fighters, piloted by the best Earth had to offer, darted between lumbering alien capital ships, their weapons leaving trails of quantum fire. Jack found himself at the helm of the EDF Prometheus, humanity's first true interstellar warship. As he maneuvered through the chaos of battle, he felt that familiar stirring in his mind, the power that had turned the tide in London. "All ships, form up on me," he commanded. "We're going for their command vessel." As the human fleet consolidated around the Prometheus, Jack closed his eyes, reaching out with his consciousness. He could feel the alien minds, their thoughts a jumble of confusion and growing fear. They hadn't expected this level of resistance. "Now," Jack shouted, his eyes snapping open. The Prometheus surged forward, its quantum drives flaring. Behind it, the rest of the fleet followed in perfect formation, their movements guided by Jack's enhanced neural link. They struck the Zarkani command ship like a spear, their combined firepower overwhelming its defenses. As the alien vessel's hull breached, Jack made a split-second decision. "Elena," he called over the comm, "I'm going in. We need answers, and this might be our only chance." Before anyone could object, Jack had suited up and was leading a strike team into the heart of the enemy ship. The corridors were a maze of otherworldly architecture, but Jack moved with uncanny certainty, guided by an intuition he couldn't explain. They fought their way through dwindling alien resistance until they reached what could only be the ship's brain. A vast chamber filled with swirling energy and pulsing organic technology. And there, suspended in the center, were humans, hundreds of them, connected to the ship's systems. "My God," breathed one of Jack's team members. They're powering the ship, using our people as living batteries." Jack felt a surge of rage, but he forced himself to focus. As he approached the central console, he felt a presence in his mind. Ancient, vast, and utterly alien. "You should not be here," the voice reverberated in his skull. "You are not ready." "Ready for what?" Jack demanded, both aloud and in his thoughts. "Why are you doing this?" Images flooded his mind, glimpses of a galactic war spanning millennia, of countless species rising and falling, and through it all, a desperate search for something special. "Your kind," the voice continued, "has potential we have not seen in eons. The power to shape reality itself. We seek to harness it, to win a war you cannot comprehend." Jack reeled from the revelation, but he didn't let it paralyze him. With a mental push that surprised even himself, he shoved back against the alien consciousness. "We're not your weapons," he growled. "We're not your batteries. We're human beings, and we make our own destiny." With that, he plunged his hands into the alien console. Energy surged through him, and for a moment, he could see everything. The vast network of Zarkani ships, the imprisoned minds of countless species, and with a thought, he began to unravel it all. Alarms blared throughout the ship as systems went haywire. The imprisoned humans began to stir, their connections to the alien tech severing one by one. Jack's team rushed to assist them, but Jack himself remained connected, his mind racing through the Zarkani network. "Elena," he managed to call out through gritted teeth, "tell the fleet to prepare for refugees, lots of them." As the Zarkani command ship began to break apart, escape pods jettisoned in all directions, not just carrying humans, but beings from a dozen different worlds. The alien armada, its network in chaos, began a hasty retreat. Hours later, as the human fleet regrouped around a liberated ship full of former prisoners, Jack finally allowed himself a moment to breathe. Elena's voice came over the comm, filled with a mixture of awe and concern. "Jack, what you did out there, it shouldn't have been possible. You've changed the course of the war in a single stroke." Jack looked out at the stars, his mind still reeling from the cosmic truths he glimpsed. "We all have that potential, Elena. The Zarkani were right about one thing. There's something special in humanity. And now," he said, his voice filled with grim determination, "we're going to use it to free the rest of the galaxy." As the fleet set course for Earth, carrying with them survivors from across the stars, Jack knew that this victory was just the beginning. The real war, a war for the very nature of consciousness in the universe, was about to begin. And humanity, for better or worse, was now at its center. Galactic Alliance. The return of the human fleet to Earth marked the beginning of a new era. As ships descended through the atmosphere, they carried not just liberated humans, but a menagerie of alien species, former captives of the Zarkani, now seeking refuge on a world they'd never seen before. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the forefront of the welcoming committee, her scientific curiosity barely contained as she observed the diverse array of life forms disembarking. Beside her, General Sarah Okonkwo maintained a stoic expression, but even she couldn't hide her amazement. "This changes everything," Elena murmured, her mind racing with the implications. Sarah nodded grimly. "For better or worse, Earth is now at the center of a galactic conflict. We need to be ready." As the days turned into weeks, Earth transformed into a hub of interstellar activity. Makeshift embassies were established for each of the liberated species, and the exchange of knowledge and technology accelerated at an unprecedented pace. Jack Harper, hailed as a hero for his actions aboard the Zarkani ship, found himself thrust into the role of diplomat and leader. His unique ability to connect with alien minds made him an invaluable intermediary. In a repurposed UN Assembly Hall, now christened the Galactic Council Chamber, Jack addressed representatives from a dozen worlds. "We face a common enemy," he began, his voice carrying the weight of recent battles. "The Zarkani have subjugated countless species, harvesting the potential of entire civilizations. But together, we have a chance to end their reign of terror." A reptilian being, scales shimmering under the chamber lights, rose to speak. "You humans have shown great courage," it hissed. "But the Zarkani Empire spans galaxies. How can we hope to defeat them?" Jack's eyes gleamed with determination. "Because we have something they don't, something they fear." He paused, looking around the room. "The power to evolve, to adapt, to become more than what we are. It's not just humans, it's all of us. The Zarkani have been suppressing this potential across the galaxy. It's time we reclaimed it." As murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber, Elena stepped forward, activating a holographic display. "We've been analyzing the data Jack retrieved from the Zarkani network. It appears they've been conducting experiments, trying to unlock specific genetic traits in various species. When combined, these traits form, well, for lack of a better term, a key. A key to what? The question came from a being of pure energy, its form shimmering in anticipation. Jack and Elena exchanged glances. "We're not entirely sure," Jack admitted. "But whatever it is, the Zarkani are willing to enslave entire galaxies to get it. And we think humans might be the final piece of the puzzle." The revelation sent shockwaves through the assembly. As debates raged and alliances formed, a plan began to take shape. Earth would become the headquarters for a new interstellar resistance, with each species contributing its unique strengths to the cause. Months passed, and the face of the planet changed. Massive shipyards appeared in orbit, constructed with a fusion of human ingenuity and alien technology. Advanced defense systems, capable of repelling even the largest Zarkani fleets, were established across the solar system. But it wasn't just Earth that was changing. As refugees from across the galaxy integrated into human society, something unprecedented began to occur. The latent abilities that Jack had first manifested began to appear in others, humans and aliens alike. Elena found herself working around the clock, studying these emerging phenomena. "It's like the proximity to other species is acting as a catalyst," she explained to Jack during a rare quiet moment. "We're seeing telepathic abilities, matter manipulation, even limited precognition. It's as if we're all evolving together," Jack finished, a hint of awe in his voice. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from General Okonkwo. "We've detected a massive Zarkani fleet approaching the Arcturus system. They're attacking our forward base." Within hours, the newly christened Galactic Alliance fleet was mobilized. Ships of various designs, crewed by beings from a dozen worlds, jumped into hyperspace with a singular purpose: to meet the Zarkani threat head-on. The battle that ensued would be remembered for generations as a turning point in the war. Alliance ships, powered by the combined technological prowess of multiple species, clashed with the Zarkani armada in a dazzling display of advanced weaponry and tactics. Jack, once again at the helm of the flagship Prometheus, found himself at the center of the maelstrom. But this time, he wasn't alone. Throughout the fleet, individuals with awakened abilities coordinated their efforts, creating a psychic network that rivaled the Zarkani's own. As the battle raged, Jack pushed his abilities to their limit, reaching out to touch the minds of the enemy. What he found shocked him to his core. "Elena," he called out, his voice strained. "I'm sensing doubt, fear, not just from their soldiers, but from their leaders. They're afraid of us." Elena's voice crackled over the comm, excitement evident despite the chaos. "It makes sense. We're the unknown factor, the thing they can't control. Jack, if we can exploit that fear." Understanding dawned on Jack's face. With a thought, he broadcasted to the entire Alliance fleet. "All ships, focus your efforts on their command vessels. Show them the full extent of our combined power." What followed was a display of unified might unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Ships moved in perfect synchronization, their attacks amplified by the psychic link between crews. Zarkani vessels, once thought invincible, crumbled under the onslaught. As the enemy fleet began to retreat, a cheer went up across the Alliance ships. They had won a decisive victory, pushing the Zarkani back and securing a vital star system. In the aftermath of the battle, as damage reports came in and casualties were tallied, Jack stood on the observation deck of the Prometheus, gazing out at the star-strewn vastness of space. Elena joined him, her face a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. "We did it," she said softly. "We really did it." Jack nodded, but his expression remained somber. "This was just one battle, Elena. The Zarkani still control most of the known galaxy, and we still don't know what ultimate goal they're working towards." Elena placed a hand on his shoulder. "But we've given the galaxy hope, Jack. For the first time in millennia, the Zarkani know fear. And we've proven that together, were stronger than any one species alone. As if to punctuate her words, a shimmer of energy passed between them, a manifestation of the new abilities awakening across the Alliance. Jack couldn't help but smile, feeling the connection not just to Alina, but to every being fighting for freedom across the stars. "You're right," he said, his resolve strengthening. "And we're just getting started. It's time to take the fight to the heart of their empire." As the Prometheus set course for Earth, carrying news of their victory, Jack knew that the greatest challenges still lay ahead. But for the first time since the war began, he felt a genuine sense of hope. Humanity had found its place in the cosmos, not as conquerors or victims, but as the catalysts for a new age of galactic cooperation. The Zarkani had sought to exploit the potential they saw in humanity. Instead, they had awakened a force that would reshape the very fabric of the universe. And as the stars streaked by, Jack Harper prepared himself for the final battle, a confrontation that would determine the fate of not just Earth, but every sentient being in the galaxy. The final stand. The Galactic Alliance's victory at Arcturus had sent shockwaves through the cosmos. For the first time in eons, the Zarkani Empire faced a worthy adversary. But as Earth celebrated its triumph, Jack Harper knew the true test was yet to come. In the war room of the newly constructed Terran Space Command, holographic displays showed the movement of fleets across the galaxy. General Sarah Okonkwo stood at the center, her face etched with concern. "They're consolidating their forces," she reported to the assembled leaders of the Alliance. "Intelligence suggests they're preparing for a massive assault." Dr. Elena Rodriguez stepped forward, her eyes alight with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "We've made a breakthrough in deciphering the Zarkani archives. We know what they're after." All eyes turned to her as she activated a central hologram. It showed a swirling nexus of energy, pulsing with otherworldly power. "They call it the Cosmic Forge," Elena explained. "It's a point in space-time where the fabric of reality is thin. With the right key, the combined genetic potential of multiple species, it can be accessed and reshaped." A murmur ran through the assembled aliens and humans alike. Jack felt a chill run down his spine as he began to understand the true scope of the Zarkani's ambitions. "They want to rewrite the fundamental laws of the universe," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Elena nodded grimly. "To make themselves the dominant, perhaps only, sentient species in existence. They've been cultivating and harvesting genetic potential across the galaxy for millions of years, all for this purpose." The implications were staggering. The fate of not just their galaxy, but all of reality, hung in the balance. As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the facility. The young officer burst into the room, her face pale. "Multiple Zarkani fleets detected entering the solar system. It's unlike anything we've ever seen." The final battle for Earth, for the galaxy, for reality itself, had begun. What followed was a conflict of unprecedented scale. The skies above Earth darkened with ships from both sides. The Zarkani, throwing caution to the wind, unleashed the full might of their empire. Reality itself seemed to warp and twist as weapons of unimaginable power tore through space. Jack found himself once again at the helm of the Prometheus, leading the charge against the Zarkani Armada. But this time, he wasn't just commanding the ship. He was the focal point of a vast psychic network, connecting every being in the Alliance fleet. As battles raged across the solar system, from the rings of Saturn to the orbit of Mercury, Jack could feel the ebb and flow of the conflict. Every victory, every loss, resonated through the collective consciousness of the Alliance. On Earth, Elena coordinated the planet's defenses, working tirelessly to unlock the final secrets of the Zarkani technology. In a secure lab deep beneath the surface, she and a team of the brightest minds from a dozen species labored over a device that could turn the tide of the war. "It's a quantum resonance amplifier," she explained to General Okonkwo over a secure channel. "If we can attune it to the unique frequency of human consciousness, augmented by the genetic potential of our allies, we can shut down their entire network," Sarah finished, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. But time was running out. Despite the valiant efforts of the Alliance, the sheer numbers of the Zarkani were overwhelming. One by one, the outer defenses of the solar system fell. In the midst of the chaos, Jack received a priority communication from Elena. "Jack, we've done it. The amplifier is ready. But there's a catch." He could hear the hesitation in her voice. "What is it, Elena?" "It needs to be activated at the heart of the Zarkani fleet, and it will require every ounce of psychic energy we can muster. Whoever activates it might not." Jack understood the unspoken implication. It was a suicide mission. Without hesitation, he set course for the massive Zarkani mothership that loomed at the center of the enemy armada. "Jack, no." Elena's voice was anguished. "There has to be another way." "There isn't," he replied softly. "And you know it. This is what I was meant for, Elena. What we've all been fighting for." As the Prometheus weaved through the battlefield, Jack opened his mind fully to the psychic network. He could feel the hopes, fears, and determination of every being in the Alliance. Their strength flowed through him, bolstering his resolve. With a final burst of speed, the Prometheus pierced the defenses of the Zarkani mothership. As boarding alarms blared, Jack made his way to the central chamber, the amplifier clutched tightly in his hands. He found himself in a vast, cathedral-like space, surrounded by swirling energies and pulsing organic technology. At the center stood a being unlike any he had encountered, the Zarkani Overmind, the living embodiment of their empire's will. "You are too late." The Overmind's voice resonated in Jack's mind. "The cosmic forge is within our grasp. Reality itself will bend to our will." Jack stood firm, feeling the weight of countless civilizations resting on his shoulders. "That's where you're wrong," he said, his voice steady. "You sought to exploit the potential of other species, to use us as tools. But you never understood the true power of diversity, of cooperation." With that, he activated the amplifier. Energy surged through him, connecting him not just to the Alliance, but to every sentient being touched by the Zarkani. In that moment, Jack Harper became a conduit for the collective will of the galaxy. The Overmind reeled back, overwhelmed by the psychic onslaught. What is this power?" "It's the power of choice," Jack replied, his voice echoing with the thoughts of trillions. "The power to determine our own destiny." Reality itself seemed to shudder as the amplifier reached its peak. The Zarkani network, spanning galaxies, began to unravel. Ships fell silent, their crews suddenly free from millennia of mental domination. In that moment of clarity, the truth of the cosmic forge was revealed. It was not a tool to be wielded by any one species, but the embodiment of the universe's potential for growth and change. As the energy reached its crescendo, Jack felt himself being torn apart and remade. His consciousness expanded, touching the very fabric of space-time. With his last human thought, he reached out to Elena, to Earth, to everyone he had fought beside. "It's done," he whispered across the stars. "We're free." In a blinding flash of light, the Zarkani mothership disappeared, taking Jack and the amplifier with it. Across the galaxy, the Zarkani Empire crumbled as its subjects awakened from their long mental slavery. On Earth, Elena fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face as she felt Jack's sacrifice ripple through the psychic network. But along with the sorrow came a sense of hope, of infinite possibility. In the days that followed, the galaxy began the long process of healing. The Alliance, forged in war, now turned its efforts to reconstruction and exploration. Earth, once a backwater planet, became a beacon of unity and progress. But the story of Jack Harper didn't end with his sacrifice. Across the cosmos, beings reported strange occurrences, moments of clarity, flashes of insight, as if guided by an unseen hand. Some swore they could feel his presence in the fabric of reality itself, a guardian and guide for a new age of galactic civilization. As Elena stood on the observation deck of humanity's first intergalactic exploration vessel, She gazed out at the infinite expanse of stars. A familiar warmth touched her mind, and she smiled. "You were right, Jack," she whispered to the cosmos. "This is just the beginning." And somewhere, in the vast tapestry of space-time, Jack Harper, or whatever he had become, smiled back. The Age of Awakening had only just begun, and the true potential of life in the universe was finally free to flourish.